Hi there, it's Mare. Today I have a journal to share with you that I've just completed. Before I forget, if you are new to my channel or haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be updated on any new journals that I post or any new videos that I post, I should say. I have a new completed journal to share with you, just a quick flip through. It is very chunky, and I called it, at first I was calling it the Junky Chunky because I have lots of different charms dangling from it, lots of scraps. It's very grungy. It is an alligator mouth, and I've used lots of items on it, and I'll go through this in a second. Let's see the stats. 50 pages, but front to back there's 100 pages. It is approximately 9 by 6. I will list any of the digitals that I used in here. I get from Etsy, and I will list the names of those shops in the description box. Some I forgot where I got it from, and just ask for a little grace for that because I don't remember. Okay, let's go through it here. I have used a vintage book cover here in the front that I've done some different, used some different oxides on it, dipped into my salvaged patina, that new color from Tim Holtz. And the back of that vintage book is right there. I've made a pocket of it. And I've used one of Tim Holtz paper dolls, one of the newer ones. And what I like most about the newer paper dolls, just briefly, is that they're from an actual even older time period, which that's what I like the most. Sort of the 1800s era and early 1900s. So I made this into a flip. I did some glaze on it, and I really liked how this one turned out. I imagined her being a woman who arrived in a small town after she got a position as a school teacher, just for fun. That's what I imagined as I was doing it, and this book was just a collection of things she put together of the people that she had met and just her day-to-day stuff. Did some little alcohol inks and stuff on this metal piece here. I have a bead charm here that's a heart and a vintage key. This flips open like this. There's a grungy picture frame. I did keep the writing in this. It's from 1886. How cool is that? And then this is a pocket. There is new and mostly vintage ephemera in this, and as well as new and vintage laces and doilies and such, and little scraps. This is a piece of ephemera. It says 1889. I don't think it's a copy. I hope it's not, because I got it with a bunch that were originals, and that just sits in that pocket. Lots of ripped pages, lots of sewing. And then behind this, there is a bag right in here. And I put some ephemera in this one as well. Piece from 1898. Maybe I won't show all of it because whoever ends up buying this, you have to have a few surprises. Okay, the spine, I did put tie back in it like I do normally in all my journals. And from here, it's hanging lots of dangle charms, original vintage key. There is a bunny charm, a heart, and another little heart, little bead, little piece of a pocket watch. These are some beads, metal beads that I've rusted. It says vintage on there. Just some pretty glass beads, little teddy bear, and a book. And I put these little ripped pieces, made these bows, did some sewing on it. I really like doing my signatures, sewing them from so the sections come out on the ends. I think I'm going to do that for the next few journals. We shall see. Just muslin closure here. This I used pieces of, everybody was getting, well, a lot in the group were getting the kit from Michele Rowe that has is a piece of her grandma's quilt. So I kind of took little pieces out of that and used it in my design. So let me show you some tea-dyed muslin here. Okay, front pocket here. Did some decoupage with some tissue paper. Oh, did I show you the bottom? Let me show you the bottom, because I don't know if you can see it. Wait, there we go. All the buttons, it's button trim. I know they're new buttons, but I just love that trim on there. And I just decked it out with a bunch of metal charms on the ends that I'll show you as we go. This is a frame piece here that I just stuck a piece of 6x6 scrapbook paper. I believe this was part of in Michelle's kit. Did a little vintage here, made this frame, a lot of collaging on it, sewing, did different oxide inks, made the background here, which I believe is envelope. Oh, I didn't get these charms. Let me show you these. That is an E, and that is just a little pretty piece with little rhinestones and a pearl. I imagined her name to be Elizabeth. That's why there's an E there. Vintage doily pieces, vintage lace here. Let's see, that open. So you could put a picture in here. I will be giving with this book a small bag of, there's going to be some paper dolls in there. There's going to, from Tim Holtz collection, and there's going to be little extra pieces. So here's just a little booklet I made of just a few pieces. That'll be tucked up in there, and I just put that in there, and I made a tag. And then you can put a little ticket or something in there. I'll probably add that. Put some natural paper on the back and did some sewing. Vintage lace and trims, vintage button here, little tag, doily. Did some collaging back there. And this is one of her, I believe it was one of the pieces. Let me see, yep, it was sewn in there. The book page, so it's very hard, very stiff. And I just like the way that it looks for the front page especially. Did some collaging, some sewing. I have an original piece of ephemera here from 1860. And this is from 1928. And that sits in the pocket here. Half page, avocado dyed coffee, dyed paper, extra writing space here. And I put this little house on here. It's rusted, and with a little glass bead there. And I just imagined that these were her family, and it did some more of the glazing on there, just different colors. I don't want it to pick up too much shine. There we go. Very muted colors throughout. Just a small collage here with a little tuck. Little Tim Holtz picture. This says Little Dreamer on it. Coffee dyed paper with a tab and a rose metal charm. Half piece, just a scrap piece of shipping paper when I received the box. Paper bag here, and I have some ephemera. This is from 1904 or 01. Ah, looks like 01. And this is from an autograph book. It's very brittle. Probably should glue that on a piece of, whoever gets this glued on a piece of stronger paper. I'll let you decide. This is from Cascade County, Montana. The city of Great Falls, and that's from 1895. This was, I believe, was a piece that came inside of an old ledger I purchased years ago. Some different frames I've sewed around here. Used some vintage lace here and just put this vintage picture. I imagined those being Elizabeth's friends. And a little receipt, it looks like. That's from 1898. Just love that time frame, the 1800s, and I love the ephemera. These are 2 pieces of cardboard from the kit, and I've made a 2-page layout. I just loved, I imagined this being a sitting room in the boarding house that she stayed at. And this is one of the other guests, and she's sitting on a chair. Chandelier, a picture on the wall. I used some oxides on here, some gesso, and just different techniques. Here's a digital that I used, added some sewing, put in the group of the paper dolls, used some of the glazes on this and down the flower. Did some decoupage on here, part of that bag. And I have receipt, I believe, from 1934, and here's one from 1901. Some great ephemera in there. I had some muslin that I just grunged up a bit and sewed and made a ruffle and used one of my rusty pins on there. Some decoupage, little label here that says letters. I made this clip here. This is a vintage nib from a quill pen. Oh, my lights are flickering. Very stormy here today. Here's a little miniature cabinet card, and since it said letters on the label, I just made a few miniature letters that handwritten, and if you can make it out, it says Dearest Elizabeth, I believe it says. And that's just on a rusted clip, and I put that just for something pretty on it. And I just clipped it on here. It'd be great for a little letter or a tuck of a note under there. It's just a little rhinestone. I've made, whoops, I clipped too much. I made 2 pockets here out of some digitals. And I put 2 pieces of ephemera in it. Pretty, I thought that color is just so beautiful, and it matches the Selvedge patina, by the way. And a little receipt here. I won't open up every single piece. This is a copy of a vintage receipt from 1901. I printed it off on parchment and coffee dyed it. Just did some collaging here, piece of old doily, or tablecloth, I should say. Little Tim Holtz picture, I believe, and a vintage receipt. Made a little tuck spot here. A lot of my pages, because I heavily embellish, unapologetically, I do reinforce any pages that I feel are weak and can't handle the extra embellishment. I did use some, I stiffened up some muslin and some different pieces of material. So some of the pages can get stiffed, they're torn, they're wrinkled, they're grungy, and I just love the look. Okay, here's a tag that I made with some little vintage lace trim, some doilies sewed, put some of that handmade paper on there, little tuck spot I made out of a cluster, little band here, and I made this little slide. I love that both sides are just really pretty when you print on vellum like that. Okay. You know why do I always, once I get on video, you know, things just don't want to get put together. And that flips up. Let me pull this down a little so you can see just some writing space here. And I just tuck it in there. This is some pretty, I believe it's Blue Fern Studios. I just love that. Thought it'd be great for a little picture on there. Some parchment paper, digital. This is an insert that you can take out and write and put it back in. Did some coffee dyeing, put another ruffle in there, did some stamping. Here's some more coffee dyed paper. There's a little charm. It says follow your heart. I've rusted it somewhat. Did some stenciling, little washi tape there. Covered this CD envelope and put a vintage picture back in there. You can either cut it down or change pictures, whatever. This I just made a fabric flip, but going to the side. And this is one of the pieces from Michelle's kit, just some book pages put together and sewn with some muslin. And I did some stamping and put some extra gesso on that. Coffee dyed paper, little envelope, metal envelope, little fabric flip here, and just some of that stitching, the Tim Holtz stitching pack. Some computer paper here. Did a little die cut here, little side pocket up here with a tag, just little pieces, little journal card, little tags, couple little labels, some tickets that I made, just little things. It's another 2-page spread. I made this little flip up. Again, there's area on there, just some of that Tim Holtz scrapbook paper. I think it fit really well into the theme that I was going for. And put a piece of ephemera, where's it? There we go. Just some vintage stationery. And I have one of these report card pieces of ephemera here. And this, I did some more glazing on this. And it has librarian here. So she just reminded me of a librarian. Used different glazes on the flowers, on here, on the hat. This is a digital from a frame. And I've just really grungied up the pages. Sewing here, this flips open. Put some copies of some vintage Dewey Decimal library cards in here. And a little journal tag. Did some decoupage with some rice paper. And that is a metal alphabet block that I have rusted. Put a little paper clip. I just think these little boys are so cute on here. I did some different oxide colors, did some eyelets here, selvage patina, and gathered twigs, which is one of my favorite browns to use. And yeah, I thought they were just super cute. Did some waxing on there too, some beeswax, which just gave it a different look. It even made little beeswax drops on here, which I loved the way it turned out. Little cheesecloth there. That flips open, and this is a pocket here. You can kind of see the little bit of shine from it, but I love these pockets because they're transparent. I just added some little trim on here. Did some different, oxides and stuff on the back to kind of match all the colors. Tag, journal card, another journal card there. I made some master boards, so that's a piece of this. I've just added some extra gesso so it could be written on. Added some vintage lace here. This is a little metal clock face. There's the center of that signature, very thick paper. I feel like it opens up pretty well for such a big, thick book, but obviously, to each their own. Some people like it, some people don't. Here's some vintage buttons that I've added onto some vintage lace, a little cluster here. This is a piece of, an old piece of jewelry that I've just taken apart and deconstructed. Oh, I almost ripped that off, and not a good thing. There's another one of those frames. I just left this one empty. You can put one of the paper dolls that I will include, or a photo of your own. I just wanted to keep one of the frames empty. It does flip up for writing purposes. Made this little side pocket. Here's some of that Tim Holtz wallpaper. Little journal card. I made a little booklet here with some coffee dyed paper in it. And this is a pocket as well, and I just put some journal cards from a digital in there. Little rusty pin, Little rusty jingle bell, which I love. Stenciling here, a little sketch of a girl here, some more of that computer paper, and just an altered paper clip with, I think this is, yeah, 5 on there. Here's a little tuck here, green tuck, little doily, and then it's just a vintage, I believe it's German. Yeah, I'll be corrected if it's not. And this is just a little journal card. And here is a vintage postcard from 1908. I think you can just put some paper on the back of that or a picture. This is a Finch card. Just a little vintage music paper on there. Another page from Michele's kit here that I've added this grungy digital and made it even more grungy, ripped up the edges, added another paper doll here. And I just really, because of the background being the way it is, I didn't want to add a ton of color. So she really blends in, but her little yellow bow and her red and yellow flowers, I think, just pop on there. I don't know if you can notice it on camera, but it does. Flip that open. There's a little key on this. Here is an envelope that I've added some copies of some vintage receipts. 1900, 1888. I just thought the colors really go well. It slips in there. A couple pieces of ephemera. Put some gesso in there so it can be written on. Made this little corner piece here that flips up. A little area for writing. I rusted these little metal scissors. Here's another little piece for writing here and here. Made some more ruffle. Grunged up some of that board. Some vintage music paper. Here I made this back pocket here, and it's kind of on the shinier side. I used some gloss medium for this. This has matte medium on it. You can write on it. I left this part empty so it could be written on. Make sure you're getting a good look at that. A couple pieces of ephemera here, just tucked in there. Just flip over here with some vintage doily and lace and just some sari silk. A digital here and a little Inspire charm there. Made this out of a full window envelope. Did some stamping and just used some gathered twig and vintage photo inks on there, and just altered this flash card. There's little bits of glaze on there. I don't know if you can see that. Some stamping, some lace here, a little lock and key here. That flips over. I've left lots of strings. They can be cut, obviously, but I just like the look of it. Adds a little texture. Put a couple pieces there. Put a couple of pieces of paper there for writing. That flips over. And I made this little flip here out of some different fabrics, and these are vintage doily pieces. And that just flips over for writing or putting a picture there. Some empty spots for extra writing. Some more copies of some receipts, vintage receipts, and I left this one blank here. Added some more gesso to it, and the back again has that different inks on it, different oxides on it, and I just covered this envelope here, even back to the inside. Did some sewing, collaging, and put some little pieces of ephemera in there and a picture. And that's the back. And that just sits in there. And I love how right there you can see that little bit of greenish blue there. And another little charm here. And that is the back. And I will tuck these in a little bit more later, but here's just some different ephemera here. Little envelope, another Dewey Decimal card. we go. And that is the back. And that is it, guys. This will be available in my Etsy shop, which is Lilac Pages. And I appreciate you looking, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.